Hey, good morning, everyone. Patricia Falchetti here from Social Living Solutions. And I'm coming on here today to do this live to talk about the links between neurodiversity and eating disorders. I just wanted to come on. So today I'm seeking to inform you more than anything else. I'm not an expert in this area, but it certainly is something that I do see quite a lot of in the clients that I work with, particularly in my female clients more than my male clients. So just thought I'd come on today and just share some of the research I've been doing and some of the knowledge, and also too in the hope that this will help you too if you're experiencing any of this yourself or also with your children as well. Now, I do have some notes just behind me, so if you see me looking up, that's why. But also, if you come on, please do feel free to say hello, ask any questions, and I will endeavour to answer them. And if not, I will go away and find out the information and come back and answer them in comments. And the other thing too is that if you do watch later on, please put #replay so that I know that you've watched and that you've seen and taken in the information. So what I've found through my research is the driving issue fueling eating disorders of many neurodiverse people is multifaceted. So there are many factors that contribute to this. The complexities of the combinations of social anxiety, unawareness, sensory processing problems, and the overbearing rejection a lot of neurodiverse people experience from society are major contributing factors. Society ostracizing neurodiverse children is what puts them at higher risk of developing an eating disorder. Research indicates that 20 to 30% of adults with eating disorders research indicates that 20 to 30% of people with eating disorders are neurodiverse, that they are neurodiverse in some way, whether it is that they have autism, ADHD, or autism and ADHD combined. So people who are neurodiverse are 15 times higher among people with anorexia than among those without. But a lack of awareness means many go undiagnosed, and traditional eating disorder treatment models are often not suitable for neurodiverse people. And this is part of the issue, is that quite often the professionals working with them might not pick up that they are neurodiverse. And if they do know that they are neurodiverse, if they're using traditional eating disorder like treatment models, they often don't work with neurodiverse people. And a large factor of this is often they're not taking the sensory issues and the complexities of that around eating. So the picky eating and rigidity in many neurodiverse children is a huge risk factor for binge eating disorder, which is called BED, anorexia, bulimia, and orthorexia. Despite anorexia nervosa being the least common eating disorder in the general population, it is one of the most common seen in neurodiverse people, and particularly in people with autism, alongside AFRID. And AFRID is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, but in this live I'll refer to it as AFRID when I talk about it. The picky eating we often see in neurodiverse individuals is an indication that the person is at risk of developing AFRID. Neurodiverse people may be particularly sensitive to texture, smell, look, or even sound of foods, and they may have highly selective eating requirements. They may also struggle with the social nature of food and eating, so they might struggle with sitting at the table with others or waiting until others are finished. Physical difficulties can also present, such as difficulty chewing or swallowing may also be common, and factors such as misophonia can make it difficult for them to sit at the table. Now, misophonia is is a condition where you find like certain noises and that really, really grating, and they raise your levels of anxiety. And it's for some people who are neurodiverse, and is the sound of chewing, a person chewing, can virtually send them through the roof. So they find it really, really hard to stay at the table while others are chewing if they don't have like a headphone in to hear music to distract them, or music around, or other noise. So these factors can also make it difficult for them to sit at the table and to finish off the meal. So as you can see with what I've said so far, there are so many factors that feed into this. As many of you know, autism is diagnosed in 3 times as many males compared to females. So it's still got that 3-to-1 ratio with diagnosis. Now, this is one of the issues. So missed or delayed diagnosis of autism in females during childhood may leave the child or the person vulnerable to the development of mental health problems such as eating disorders, as like anorexia. There is growing research that suggests that eating disorders and autism share similarities in terms of cognitive and socio-emotional processing. And I found that really, really interesting. So the behaviors that are often seen in people with eating disorders are similar to those that we often see with neurodiversity. So this can mean that autism can go undiagnosed in people with eating disorders, or conversely in autistic people who may also be struggling with eating disorders. The reasons why autistic people or neurodiverse people may develop an eating disorder can include the following factors. So they can be contributing to them developing an eating disorder. So not being able to feel a sense of hunger. So this has to do with the issues that with interoception that many neurodiverse people have. So interoception is the ability to identify what you're feeling, what's going on inside your body. Sensory differences related to food textures, smells, and the like. And food and counting calories can become an intense interest or an obsession, a tool to manage general anxiety levels. They also can develop strict routines and rules around food that are very difficult to change. So neurodiverse people also have difficulties with emotional processing. We know that. And this may also be seen in anorexia as starvation and can cause problems with emotional processing. So a core feature, hi Minda, thanks for watching. A core feature of people with eating disorders is that they find it difficult to identify and cope with emotion. Neurodiverse people struggle with emotions in similar ways. And this might help explain why they're more likely to have eating disorders. The personality traits characterized by an inability to identify and describe emotions is called alexithymia. And we see a lot of alexithymia in neurodiverse individuals. So, and also those with eating disorders. So we see it in both areas, or with both people. So being alexithymic is like being emotionally colorblind. That's the best way to describe it, and ranges from being quite subtle to being severe. While one alexithymic person might find it hard to pinpoint what emotion they're feeling, another might notice physical signs such as a racing heart and be able to identify that they're feeling angry or frightened, but the other person might not be able to identify these emotions. Alexithymia is associated with many negative outcomes, like suicide and self-injury. In part, this may be because people who can't identify or express their emotions find it hard to soothe themselves or get support from others, because others don't understand it. They don't understand what alexithymia is. And it might contribute to eating disorders in neurodiverse people. So I've read articles that suggest that autistic people with eating disorders generally do not respond as well to traditional eating disorder treatment models, which I mentioned before, tending to have worse outcomes than their non-autistic peers. And through the reading that I've done, I've learned that this is because of factors such as sensory sensitivities are not often considered by the treating professionals. One general and major risk factor for developing an eating disorder is dieting. And for people who might already be genetically vulnerable to eating disorders, Dieting seems to kickstart something in the brain that can develop the disorder. So when you think about it, while autistic people aren't more likely to diet than the average person, certain features of autism, including attention to detail, determination, and intense fixated interests, may make them better able to maintain the restrictions needed for long-term weight loss when they choose to diet. So this cognitive rigidity in neurodiverse individuals mean that they're more prone to getting stuck in patterns of eating behaviors, while the preference for sameness may cause them to have a limited diet to begin with, which is what I was talking before with the sensory sensitivities, the issues around texture, smell of food, feel of food, and things like that. For some autistic people, insensitivity to hunger, gastrointestinal problems, and sensitivity to taste, smells, and textures make eating difficult anyway. And moreover, because autistic people are often bullied and socially isolated, dieting and weight loss may give them back a sense of control, predictability, reward, and self-worth. And this is something that I see in some of my clients that I work with who have eating disorders, is because of some of them who have been bullied really quite heavily, and also they feel quite socially isolated. The dieting and the weight loss or the restriction of eating, so that sense of control, helps bring that sense back of predictability. So this is a real issue. So again, when I'm talking about professionals who are dealing with eating disorders, these are the things that they need to look at and consider, and also consider that there might be neurodiversity, undiagnosed neurodiversity at play there. Eating disorders can even numb feelings of anxiety and depression. Research does suggest that children with social difficulties are more likely than those without to develop disordered eating. And one of the eating disorders developed is BED, which is the one that I mentioned before, which is the binge eating disorder. And the reason why this is prevalent is because one enjoys the flavors and textures of the food, so they're seeking comfort when they're socially isolated. So this is why BED is a factor and is also a huge risk factor for neurodiverse people. So I'm going to end it there today. As I mentioned before, if you watch this again, please put #replay in the comments, and any questions, please put them in the comments as well. Thank you for those that have watched today, and I will be on again next Monday at 10 o'clock to talk about another subject around neurodiversity. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.